Good afternoon. This is the COVID Cast 27. I am your host, Rick Richards. You could call it the Rick Richards Show, although I don't know if I want to be too associated with a virus. Although I hope this cast goes viral. It is April 2nd, 2020. And we are out here on the West Coast enjoying I guess, our isolation or not enjoying our isolation. I have a live audience today. Shout out to Ivan from Sector B49. He came down to watch the show, see the magic happen in person. Before we do our shout outs, I'm going to pop the top on a Monster. You know, I get a lot of shit for drinking Monster. I've had a few people reach out to me and say, hey, man, what are you doing drinking the Monster? Well, hey, you know what? Monster's not paying. They're not a sponsor of the show. They're just convenient and they taste pretty good. However, I am not faithful to them. I am a very loyal, faithful guy, but with Monster, that's questionable. So I'm willing to stray. Along with my Monster, I'm going to pop some of my Athletic Alliance Advanced Nootropic supplement that makes you better and smarter. And you can get this right across North America at GNC, both GNC in the United States of America and GNC in Canada. And contrary to what many people might believe, most of the GNCs are open, more than half for sure. And if that's not convenient for you and you want to bundle up or not contact anybody, you're doing your social isolation as you should be, you can always buy it online at gnc.com or svn.com. We're available at svn.com, or you can get it at athleticalliance.net or check out this big bad boy. At this time of hoarding and, people stocking up on spam, like I tried to buy some spam and honest to God, that stuff sucks. Like it tastes like shit. A meat product that lasts for 3 years, not a good idea. Hey. Oh, all right. I'm ready to go. You can get Hydro Pro protein with a 2-year, it's at least 2-year shelf life. It's a hydrolyzed whey protein. It's great if you have any lactose digestion problems. There's colostrum in there, which helps your immune system. I think we know how important that is. And this is $10. One of these is normally $50. You know, almost any brand you get is going to be $50, let alone a premium brand like this. You can get it for $10 if you buy any Athletic Alliance product at GNC in Canada right now. So enough of the plugs. Remember, though, I won't plug something unless I absolutely believe in it and use it myself. But let's get to the sobering news of the day. And there is a lot. Okay. So first of all, let's look at some raw numbers. All right, the coronavirus cases has crossed the 1 million threshold. There are more than 1 million cases globally. This has resulted in 52,885 deaths. So, what is that as a percentage? Ivan from Sector B49, can you tell me?
It's like
52,000 out of 1 million?
close to 5%.
Yeah, that's right. Good man. It's just a shade over 5%. So it's lethal to 5% of the people who have symptoms serious enough to be tested. These things again are a little bit not necessarily misleading. I mean, misleading implies that there's some kind of deception going on, but they don't paint the complete picture. And what I mean by that is anybody getting tested is getting tested because they have symptoms, or they've been in contact with somebody that has come down with the virus. There's a lot of people that have it that haven't been tested, or that haven't shown any symptoms, or have recovered from it, or just thought they had a cold. So that 5% number, that's really just of the confirmed cases, which tend to be the most serious ones. So let's take that for what it's worth. Here we go. New deaths. This is, of course, like I say, a grim subject. France. France has claimed the top spot in new deaths, 60,000 cases. I'm not quite sure why that is. This number is very high. And it looks that's close to 25%. So if we use our rule of 72, this number should double. This number should at least hit 10,000 within about 3 days, if this stays consistent as a percentage. Spain, still pretty high, not as high as it was. It's not, the absolute number is pretty high. It's getting close to 1,000 deaths in one day. 10,000 overall, also very high, but the rate at which the new deaths are coming in is slowing down a little bit, especially when you consider that there's 112,000 cases. Italy, there's 115,000 cases and 760 new deaths, which is actually pretty good news. If you can consider 760 deaths in one day good news, you can from the perspective that it's, in fact, this is the curve flattening out. So Italy is, I think Italy, just about everybody would consider Italy the absolute worst hit place with this, at least up until this point. And their curve is flattening, so that's positive. The US is creeping in on 250,000 cases, and they should be there by tomorrow. The death rate, somewhat high, I suppose. We want to see that come down, but it's such a big country that we're probably not going to see that anytime soon. UK also seems like it's getting kind of bad out there. Now, here's an interesting place to watch: Sweden. All right, so Sweden hasn't really taken any measures, and I'll do a deep dive on Sweden pretty soon. I'm going to continue to watch these guys, but they're not practicing the social distancing, certainly not to the degree other countries are. I don't believe they've shut down any of their businesses. I could be corrected on this, but the last I heard is that Sweden is just basically saying, if he dies, he dies. They've taken a very cutthroat, kind of Darwinian, every man for himself, every woman, every senior for himself type approach. And I'm going to be watching that to see how it goes. Another interesting place is Finland. See, this is one of the things we should do. We should study the different countries and examine the approaches they're taking. I know Jamaica, for example, has quarantined older people over 65, and I believe Russia has done the same thing. Finland, they have essentially quarantined Helsinki, but the rest of the country is more or less free to move about. And I'd say they have things relatively under control. So let's move on from the world at large to our neck of the woods. So the latest as of April 2nd, 11,000 cases in Canada. A total of 1,600 of those are people that have recovered. The death toll in Canada is now at 130. Ontario is kind of heating up as a sort of a new hotbed. Their testing is ramping up. Toronto, it looks like there's a lot of new cases there. Quebec has over 5,000 cases now. That's really a lot. Even with all the testing, I think we need to find out what the hell happened in Quebec. Why did Quebec just zoom ahead like this? British Columbia, 53 new cases, 1 new death. So, you know what, BC, I don't know. It's actually 1 new death. Hold on. This was 25 yesterday, and it's up to 31. So what the hell is going on in BC? 53 new cases and 1 new death on April 1st, bringing the province's total to 1066. Okay, that's dated then. So we've had 6 deaths just in the last little while. Quite a few recoveries in BC. Hopefully I'll have more on that tomorrow to find out exactly what's going on. Ontario, 53 people have died in Ontario. So here's what I think is where we're at in Canada. I think now and the next 2 weeks are going to be the kind of the inferno. If you imagine yourself walking through a fire, a house on fire. You know what? The outer rim, you feel the heat, you get the smoke, then you get into the fire. we're going into the very heart of it right now. You know, if you're on a haunted ride or something like that at a fair, this would be the scary part of the ride. I think for the next 2 weeks, this is when we're going to see the greatest acceleration in the death count as a result of just the virus spreading and incubating over the past couple of weeks. And then I think we'll hit our peak sometime in the next 2 weeks, and then we'll see a leveling out. I'm saying this right now. You're hearing it from me. This will be leveling out by April 16th, 2 weeks from now. I'm prepared to go out and say that right now. Although, having said that, I find myself at odds with some of the leaders in the country. Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, seems like he's doing a pretty good job so far. I don't have anything too critical to say for Doug Ford, but he has said that 12 weeks, the measures that are in place now, business closures, quarantine, physical distancing or social distancing, whatever the hell it's called, he has said that is going to be in place for 12 weeks. Now, I don't know why you would come out and just throw out the number 12 weeks like that. That seems kind of stupid. And I'll say it's stupid, not because I don't think this may not be a problem or that may not be the solution, but why would you put something out there if you don't actually know that that's what it's going to be? And he doesn't know. He's seeing the cases spike right now, and yeah, they are, but he doesn't know if this is going to level off in 4 weeks. So why would you put out such negativity, right? Why would you not? It would be much better to just come out and say, look, this is what we need to see happen. If this doesn't happen, then we're going to have to keep going with this. And if this does happen, then we can start returning to normal. And, you know, another leader, Justin Trudeau, I mean, you know, I've been trying to go easy on this guy because I understand it's a tough situation. But I think especially once the initial shock of what's going on wears off, I think we have to start looking critically at what people are saying and some of their actions. And, you know, I constantly hear the same couple things from him. One is, another thing is, we support you. We have your back. Like these kind of nice sounding platitudes, but that's not quite the case. That's not quite the case. I'll read to you some of the information on the wage subsidy and some of these other things. But before I do that, another thing that I've heard from Trudeau is he keeps saying this will go on as long as Canadians are not doing what they need to do. Or, you know, when everybody is abiding by the rules, then we will see the curve flatten out. So what does this mean? I have been abiding by the rules and I've been doing it for over 2 weeks now. And most of us have been doing it for over 2 weeks now. So is this a situation? Remember when you were in school and it was lunchtime, right? You're sitting in your desk and you're counting the hours while this boring person is rambling on. Not all teachers are boring. I get it. Some are exciting. Anyways, the teacher is rambling on. You see the clock ticking and you think, aha, lunchtime. And then your teacher says, no, nobody is going anywhere till everybody is quiet. Fuck you. Man, I hate that. You know what? So you can do everything you're supposed to do. You can be quiet. You can have your desk in order. You can be neat. You can be well behaved. Oh no, but you're going to be punished because you have to be responsible for everybody else. To me, that is the worst kind of peer pressure, social influencing, punishing someone for something someone else did. It's really unfair. And that's essentially what we're getting from Justin Trudeau now. We're essentially being told, and meanwhile, from what I've heard, and I'm going to confirm this, but I understand there are still flights coming in from all over the world. And Sophie Trudeau, you're not supposed to be going to a cottage for your isolation, but Sophie Trudeau, who actually does have the COVID-19, she may be better now, but she did have it. She has gone off to her cottage. So that's okay for her, not the rest of us. The rest of us need to be locked in our chamber. They can go. But now he is saying, he's giving us these vague answers that things will return to normal when everybody practices what we're asking them to do. Well, that's pretty vague, man. A country of 40 million people, do you honestly think there's going to be 100% compliance with this? Is there going to be 99% compliance? What would be a good compliance rate? Does he even know? Does he offer to tell us? Should we expect 50% compliance, 75% compliance? Give us a number we can shoot for. And besides that, regardless, don't forget these damn lectures. We all know by now. If you don't know, you're fucking stupid. If you haven't figured out by now that you're supposed to avoid people, that there's a pandemic, if you haven't figured out that by now, you're dumb. You're a dumbass. Maybe you should get it. Maybe that'll thin the herd. But nevertheless, right? Everybody knows this. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. So instead of just wagging the finger and saying when everybody behaves, then you'll be let off the hook. No, give us some goddamn numbers. Tell us what we need to see. Then it'll be better. And what sort of compliance level do we need? I think it's pretty high, but expecting everybody to comply, that's not going to happen. And what are the rest of us supposed to do if they don't? Do you want us to go out and shoot somebody? You know, if 2 weeks go by and the curve still hasn't flattened enough, or some people still aren't doing what they're supposed to do, are all of us that have been doing what we're supposed to do spend another 2 weeks in? Like, is this going to go on indefinitely? Oh man, the guy is really getting hot under the collar, man. I'm ready. But let's calm down. Let's calm down because we got to move on to a more sobering subject. All right. Enough ranting on Justin. Enough ranting on. Is it enough ranting, or should I do one little bit more rant? Should I do another rant? Ivan from Sector B49. Should I?
Go ahead.
All right. I won't direct this. I won't direct this at Justin, but I will direct it at the government in general. All right. So, I'm always working hard for you on this show, right? I do all the grinding work so you don't have to, so you can relax, so you can take a break from all this nonsense, flip on YouTube and see what's happening, and I'll give it to you. So I've talked to an accountant. I've talked to an accountant on the wage subsidy. So, and they replied to me, here are the details of the wage subsidy for businesses. So far, this would be for March, April, and May, and they may extend if needed. Oh, God. Anyways, you have to show a decline of 30% or more in gross business revenue for the same period last year. So March compared to March. Okay, right off the bat, that's going to be a little bit difficult because the effect of this only came through in March. So you're not going to have, if you tabulate your sales by month, you'll have the March sales early in April. And I mean, you're going to see part of the effect, whether it's 30% that quickly. Maybe for a restaurant, it will be. The others, it's going to be a little more of a lag. The total amount available for each employee is up to $58,700 per year or $847 per month. That, again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because they're different numbers, right? So if the total amount is $58,700 per year, maybe I'm missing something on this. I feel stupid when I'm looking at this and I'm confused by it. But $58,700 per year would be about, I don't know, $4,500 a month, wouldn't it? Yeah, about $4,700 a month. So I'm not sure what I'm missing on that. Anyways, you have to show you are doing your best to pay the remaining 25% to your employees. I'm doing my best to pay. What does that mean? Doing your best. Either you're paying it or you're not. Either you have the money or you don't, right? Like doing your best. Hey man, I ran all the way to your house with the money in my hand and you didn't answer the door. I tried. Any money received under this program must be used to pay employees. There will be severe penalties if you misuse these funds. But hey, that's okay. I agree with that. There should be no scammers or people looking for a free ride on this. Fuck you. There will be a web portal opening soon. Not sure when. I'm guessing your books will have to be up to date to get the correct numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And let's see, do I have anything else on the subject? Oh, yes, I do actually. Yes, I do. Hang on. Let me dig it up. I got more detailed information. Okay. Subsidy is being backdated to May. You just have to calculate the amount of the subsidy, deduct it from your payroll remittance. Okay, that's a little bit different. Okay. The emergency response benefit. So the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. The Canadian Emergency Response Benefit provides temporary income support to workers who have stopped working and are without employment or self-employment income for reasons related to COVID-19. So I guess that would be somebody that doesn't fall under the wage subsidy or employment insurance. The new Canada Emergency Response Benefit is paid in blocks of 4 weeks in the amount of $2,000, which is equivalent to $500 per week. All right. A maximum 16 weeks of benefits can be paid. The benefit is available from March 15th, 2020 to October 3rd, 2020. You can apply no later than December 2nd, 2020. So you can apply for that as late as December to get, I guess, back pay or whatever it is. The benefit will be available to workers residing in Canada who are at least 15 years old, who have stopped working because of COVID-19 or are eligible for employment insurance, regular or sickness benefits, who had income of at least $5,000 in 2019 or in the past 12 months, who are expected to be without employment or self-employment income for at least 14 consecutive days in an initial 4-week period. For subsequent benefit periods, they expect to have no employment income. You can apply for the Canada Emergency Response Benefit as per the following table. January, February, and March, apply on Monday, April 6th. If you're born in April, May, or June, you would apply on Tuesday. July, August, September, Wednesday. October, November, December, you apply on Thursday. So if your birthday is in October, November, December, oh, well, sorry, you kind of got fucked. No, that's okay. That's only a delay of a few days. And you know what? It looks like all of these things look like they're going to be about 6 weeks to administer. So I don't know, man. You know what? I suppose thumbs up for at least trying to do the right thing. We'll see on the execution, right? Many good plans come to nothing. So let's get on to the main topic, the deep dive. The deep dive today goes along with some of what we've just been reading. The deep dive is on universal basic income, UBI. Now, there's been a lot of talk about doling out UBI, about whether UBI is inevitable, whether it's a good idea, whether it's a bad idea. And I will make a quick case for it. I'm neutral to the subject, but I can make a case for it and against it, I think. So the case for it. All right. We have so many social programs now. We have social assistance, we have EI, we have Canada Pension, we have child benefit. There's a lot of different things. So administratively, it would probably be simpler and even fairer just to have one benefit that goes out to everybody. That's the basic idea behind universal basic income, is that you would pay one amount to everybody across the country per adult and a different amount per child. You get it regardless of whether you're working or whether you're not working, whether you're disabled, not disabled, whether you're old, whether you're not old. There's no kind of limitation on it. The only limitation would be if you're under 18 years old, you would get a different amount as a child, right? So, and then the purpose is, you don't have to worry about means testing, about people scamming the system or collecting it and working under the table, all of that. So there's a simplification involved in it. That's one positive aspect of it. Another positive aspect is you free people up, obviously, from the fear of poverty, right? You provide them with a basic income so that they can get the basic necessities. So nobody's going to starve. Nobody is going to be homeless. There is a basic minimum threshold that will keep everybody from, experiencing a great deal of anxiety. Like, oh, I lost my job. That's okay. I'm still getting, $1,500 or $1,000 a month. I'm not going to die. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then finally, there's just an overall change in society. So Let's look at the iPhone. How many industries has the iPhone killed, right? I'll tell you a story. I was walking into a Loblaws about 6 years ago. And you know how sometimes when you're walking into the entrance of a store, somebody will stop you trying to sell you something, maybe it's a credit card application or something like that. Anyways, there was some old guy, and by old, I guess I mean mid 50s. He stopped me, and he wanted to sell me a subscription to a newspaper, the Globe and Mail it was. And this was, it was probably more than 5 years, probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And he started talking about it, and I said to him, man, look, I get all my news from the internet. I don't even read papers. And he goes, and I said, the internet's free. And he goes, well, they're going to cut down on that. They're going to cut down on the internet's giving out the free news. And I was just like, okay, all right, man. And on I went. But the point is, you really can't fight technology, right? And unfortunately, it just sweeps everything away in its path. So if we look at the iPhone, how many businesses has the iPhone eliminated? Ivan, can you think of any?
Well, no.
Cameras? How about cameras?
Like,
right? Digital cameras, lower end digital cameras, certainly.
BlackBerry, basically.
Well, yeah, that's a different system altogether. Record players, CD players, MP4s or MP3s, any kind of music player. I mean, you do that all off your phone now. Letters, telegrams, although those have been out for a while. Video recorders, camcorders. Who buys camcorders now, right? You can do everything really off your phone, right? But I mean, anybody that's in that industry, if you were in an industry developing film, too bad, you're out now, right? Or making CD players or whatever. But the point is that technology comes along and it improves a lot of things, but it makes a lot of things redundant, right? And that's going to keep on happening. The human nature is such that we're always looking to improve on efficiencies. And, technology is the driver behind that. We're looking now at driverless trucks and driverless cars. Like, how many people is that going to put out of work? And something like this COVID-19, I mean, is that going to slow down the replacement of workers with machines, or is it going to speed it up? You tell me. I think it's going to speed it up, right? If a person doesn't want to be exposed to the virus or something, that's a place for an automatic machine. Drivers, warehouse pickers, even, I mean, Uber drivers, the list goes on and on. So that more than anything, I would say, makes the case for a universal basic income. So let's look at what some of the other people are saying. All right. So on the economics of a universal basic income, UBI is gaining momentum worldwide, and this is from Thomas Strobhauer. It's from Intereconomics EU. The promise versus the practicalities. UBI is gaining momentum worldwide. Switzerland held a referendum. They did a national referendum on the introduction of nationwide UBI. Finland is currently testing it for some people, and India is considering replacing its welfare state with UBI. UBI is an unconditional cash payment that flows monthly from the state budget to everybody. It is transferred from public to private accounts through an entire lifetime from birth to death without any application or preconditions to be fulfilled by the beneficiary. It's supposed to cover the socio-cultural subsistence minimum. However, the determination of this minimum level of subsistence is political and not an economic decision. So this basically just echoes what I've already said. And, politicians are open to it as well. So why now? The strongest tailwinds for UBI comes from rapid technological change. Yeah. For example, Eric Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee worry about how human work in the second age of the machine could withstand robots with artificial intelligence. The development of robots and AI may result in a substitution replacement of the human labor force. I think that's a done deal. I think that's happening for sure. Finland. Finland has actually tried this. There's a few places that have tried it. There's an area in Canada that's tried this as well, which we'll get to. Hold on, am I sharing the screen here? I don't think I am. All right. Money for nothing. Is Finland's universal basic income trial too good to be true? Is it too good to be true? I guess it depends on how much money you're getting, right? Europe's first national, what's the date on this? The date. Give me the date. It doesn't have the date. Oh, here we go. January 2018. Okay, so that's 2 years ago. Europe's first national experiment in giving citizens free cash has attracted huge media attention. But 1 year in, what does this project really hope to prove? 1 year on from its launch, the world remains fascinated by Finland's groundbreaking universal basic income trial. In January 2017, the Nordic nation began paying a random but mandatory sample of 2,000 unemployed people, ages 25 to 58, a monthly 560 euros. There's no obligation. That's not very much, right? 560 euros. It's like probably about $1,000 Canadian. There's no obligation either to seek or accept employment during the 2 years the trial lasts, and any who do take a job will continue to receive the same amount. With the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk, Bernie Sanders, all proponents of universal basic income model, Finnish officials and participants have been inundated with media requests from around the globe. One participant who hoped to start his own business with the help of an unconditional monthly payment complained that after speaking to 140 TV crews and reporters from as far afield as Japan and Korea, he has simply not been able to find the time. Well, if you think you're starting a business on, okay, never mind. I guess it's possible. Okay, but amid this unprecedented media attention, the experts who devised the scheme are concerned it is being misrepresented. It's not really what people are portraying it. A full-scale universal income trial would need to study different target groups, not just the unemployed. It would have to test basic income. Okay, so people are just saying, this has got to be tested more. You've got to do more stuff. Sure. All right. I mean, one thing this doesn't answer is immigration, right? Like if you start universal basic income to everybody that lives in your country, how many immigrants are you going to take in a year? Can you afford it, right? While it tends to be associated with progressive politics, Finland's trial was launched at a cost of around 20 million by a center-right austerity-focused government interested primarily in spending less on social security and bringing down Finland's stubborn 8% plus unemployment rate. So some of the unintended benefits, they see it as a way of combating economic and social consequences, the falling industrial employment, students and the elderly. It appeals both to the left, who believe it can cut poverty and inequality, and to the right as a possible way to a leaner and less bureaucratic welfare system. But there's little consensus so far on what it should look like in practice. So I went and I crunched some numbers. I did this so you guys don't have to. All right. So let me take you through this. Shout out to Julia. Julia asked me to see these spreadsheets. Actually, I didn't even do the shout outs. I'm going to do the shout outs at the end. Okay. Sorry, guys. I forgot y'all, but I'll do them at the end. I was thrown off by Ivan from Sector B49. Okay. So Canada, we have 28 million adults and about 8 million children under the age of 18 for a combined population of 36 million. And this is based on the last census, and these are rounded off. So if we look at UBI, Universal Basic Income, $1,000 per adult and $500 per child. So a family of, say, 2 adults and 2 kids would have a combined income of $3,000 a month. And that should be enough for them to get by, right? Maybe not live like kings, obviously, but they certainly should be able to get by on $3,000 a month. So how much would that cost a year? Well, that would cost for the adults 336 billion, for the children 48 billion, for a combined cost of 384 billion per year. It's a rather intimidating number. But let's look at what we would be eliminating. Pensions, 22 billion a year is spent on pensions. The child benefit, the annual child benefit is another 24 billion a year. EI is 21 billion a year. In foreign aid, we spend 6 billion a year. Veterans Affairs, 4.5 billion. Indigenous, and the indigenous, I had to go through. I'll send. I'll have links to where I got these numbers in the show description, and some of them I had to parse through them a little bit. So indigenous, there's about a 9 billion total expense, but only 4.5 billion are actually going to people. The other is for like community development and stuff like that. So that's where that 4.5 billion number comes from. Corporate welfare, $6 billion going to corporation. For eliminating this other stuff, we may as well eliminate that. About 400 million per year. That is that goes to asylum seekers and refugees. That falls outside of social assistance and EI and all those things. And then the largest single one is the provinces combined. Social assistance is actually not federal. All these things are federal expenses. Social assistance itself is provincial, and that is about 30 billion a year. So we can see that our total, let's call them entitlement payments, amount to 118 billion, 400 million per year. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that we come up quite a bit short. We come up 265 billion short. And you know what? Unfortunately, when I saw that, I thought, I just don't see this working. This seems really tough to close that kind of gap. I mean, there is, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe people can send me something. I don't know, though. It seems like a long shot. So anyways, as I say, this has been tried in Canada. The Canadian experiment quickly shows the failures of universal basic income. So last week, the government of Ontario, Canada, announced it was ending a pilot program to guarantee residents a universal basic income. Many existing welfare programs use incentives, nudges, blah, blah, blah. One strength of the American system is that through the freedom of association, we have the ability to test different ideas for generosity against one another. That's neither here nor there. So for those of you that don't know, the Ontario government, I believe it was, I remember reading about this actually when it happened a couple of years ago. I don't think it says right now, but there's an area, I think around Hamilton, and the Ontario government, they decided they were going to do a pilot project, an experiment, and to guarantee residents of a particular town a universal basic income. The program was scheduled to run for 3 years, but it lasted just 15 months. It was the Ontario experiment was a particularly generous version of UBI. Eligible individuals could receive $17,000 a year. So that's just under $1,500 a month per adult, minus half of any earned income. So if they earned anything on that, they would be taxed at about 50%. A couple could receive $24,000, and people with disabilities could get as much as $23,000. For the Ontario pilot, only low-income folks participated, and their benefits replaced unemployment insurance, the state pension, and the disability payments. So they didn't even give it to everybody. They only chose low-income folks or people that were already on some sort of benefit. And the government cited the program's high cost when announcing the termination. A similar program in the United States with a 50% marginal tax on earned income would cost about $250 billion per year if operating nationwide, assuming no adverse consequences of taxation. Get rid of the tax, and it would cost just shy of $1 trillion per year. So there you go. I mean, we are facing some problems, right? We are facing more and more people out of work just because, you know, you only need to employ so many people if you're using technology, right? And the population, we're importing people, the population is growing. This is going to be an ongoing problem of people that are just marginalized and moved out of the workforce. And we have to have something. We have to have something. And universal basic income doesn't look like it's going to be a fiscally reasonable solution just yet. I'd be happy to see if somebody has any different evidence or other numbers that show that maybe this is more viable. Happy to look at it. I'm not seeing it right now, though. But before we close off the show, I want to give a big shout out. Producer Dave Darnley, Vanessa and Kushi, Diana, Charlene, Dave, Julia, Tammy, Tanya, friend of the show, Lisa, Darren, Carol, Rhonda, Rick, Dwayne, Chad, Jixer, Terry, Long Duck Dong, the Donger. Who am I missing? Do I got a sheet around here? Do I got a sheet? Mr. Beast, if you're out there. Steve, Heather. And I think that's it. Let me know if there is any other subject you would like a deep dive on or just a shallow dive. I can do a shallow dive too, and I'll be happy to do it. Until then, until tomorrow, remember, as long as we are all together, nobody can stand against us. So, for Ivan from Sector B49, I'm Rick Richards, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.